Hey everybody, it's Albertine again, back with you with another training video for my new writers, my aspiring writers. Those of you who feel the desire and the calling to write a book, but you've been held back by one question, and that question is, where do I start? So in this video, I'm going to answer that question for you. I've written down some points to share with you to answer that question, to ease your mind about the uncertainty that comes with not knowing. It can be bad when you not only do you not know, but you don't even know what you don't know. So you don't even know what questions to ask. The only question you can come up with is, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. I don't know anything. I just know I'm supposed to write this book. So hopefully by the end of this video, you will be ready to start, or you will realize you really have already started and that you're not as far from finishing as you may feel like you are. This video and the things that I share with you in this video are taken from my ebook that I have written, and I will include the link in the description box. And the name of that ebook is Self-Publishing Tips from Cover to Cover, and it is your comprehensive guide to writing and publishing your own book or ebook. And that book is still currently free download, and I've said before in previous video, just because it's free, please don't think that it's not of value. You'll be able to tell by what I share with you in these videos that the fact that that ebook is free currently, it is a blessing to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Where do I start? I would say, first of all, buy a notebook. I would say buy a couple, and the reason why I would say buy a couple, a larger notebook where you can write out longer, you know, if you have time to do longer writing. Maybe you're not at home, or maybe you don't have a laptop. I don't have a laptop, so notebooks come in very handy to me when I'm out and about. So I would recommend buying a notebook, or buying even a smaller notebook where maybe you may not be out where you can, you know, everybody's not walking around with a satchel, you know, with the notebooks in them. But if you have something pocket size, something you can keep in your purse, something you can pull out of your pocket, when inspiration hits you, or when you come across something, or something comes to you that you need to make sure you remember to include as part of your book, you can jot that down. So keep something with you always to write with. You can also use the notes on your phone, on your cell phone. So you can use that. You can use, if you do have a laptop, something that you carry with you. I don't know how that would work with you being able to pull it out, you know, having Wi-Fi, you know, or anything like that. So that's why your phone, the notes on your phone, or a physical notebook will come in very handy for you. So first things first, make sure you have something to write with, something to record your thoughts, okay? The second thing that I will say is, you may have already started. You know, if you're asking the question, where do I start? It could be that you've already started. Why do I say that? Because you could be already journaling. If you've been keeping a journal, especially if you're going to write something autobiographical, you probably have already written some chapters in your journal, especially if you are a faithful journaler. For years, I say I still have complete copies of my journal from like 2004, 2002. Yeah, and back in those years, I was very faithful in my journaling. I journaled every day. And then sometimes, certain times during the year, I might go a couple of months, you know, and feel really bad because now I can't, you know, I didn't feel like I could keep up with going all the way back. But I faithfully journaled for several years, and I still have the copies of those January to December journals. And I have gone back to those journals to refer back to some things for books. And I know that I will continue to go back to those journals, which leads me to my next point. The thing about journaling is, because it's so private, you tend to be raw in your honesty, because it's just you in that book. You know, you're just sharing with your journal. That the journal is the person you're talking to. So when we're journaling, we tend to be very honest. We tend to recall things very clearly in the moment. You know what I mean? So if you're writing about your life and you're going to be going back several years, there's going to be a lot of details that you don't readily remember. But if you have been journaling during that time, you can go back to that journal, and then you can pull that out, and it's ready to insert into your book. So journaling is a great way to start. If you're not journaling, then I suggest you start journaling, especially if you're doing a book about your life, about something that you've gone through. Start to journal. Okay. Let's see. And another good thing about the journals is if you go back to your journals to begin to pull back information, you'll see that you probably created whole chapters already. So you're saying, where do I start? You can start with some of the chapters that you've already written in your journal. Okay, let's see here. Another place that you can start, and that you probably don't realize you've already started, is if you use social media, if you use your Facebook statuses, if you use your tweets, that's a good way to start. Now, tweets, you're limited to like 140 characters. That's a good place to capture thoughts, quick thoughts. Facebook, you have, I don't know, I guess you could literally write an entire chapter, some statuses are very long. But you could start with posting certain things on Facebook. Now, I'm not talking about things that belong in your journal, but what I discovered from my using Facebook, or from being on Facebook, I didn't do it on purpose. I just accidentally discovered. As I began to share things in my Facebook statuses, I began to realize from the things that I was sharing that was another book in the making. So that's an excellent idea. And I recently saw a post about, which I understand exactly what the person was saying, because if you don't take the fullest advantage of it, then you won't receive the fullest benefits of it. About, that sometimes people are wasting an entire book that they don't write, but they have awesome Facebook statuses. But then they won't take those statuses and create a book, because some of your statuses are book material. Some of your statuses are the beginning of books, are beginning of chapters. So, and then her point was, don't waste your book on Facebook. And that, that's real catchy phrase, but it makes a lot of sense. And in this context, what I'm telling you, when you're saying, where do I start? You may have already started by some of the things that you've already posted on Facebook. Some short short testimonies of certain areas of your life, certain times in your life. Those might be highlights that would end up being chapters in your book. So think about that. Again, not journal stuff, not the personal stuff, that that you should be saying, in your prayer closet or to a professional. But I think you understand what I'm saying, that you can begin to use your space on social media to begin to get some little practice and some little paragraphs here and there, 3 or 4 lines here or there. And you'd be surprised at the feedback that you'll begin to get. Okay. So what do we have here next? Another thing that I did, I started a blog. And a blog is another way to get you into the practice of writing. And one person that I know in particular whose blog became a book is Bishop Jake's daughter, Sarah. Her first book that she wrote. As I was reading about that book, it started out on her blog with the things that she was writing on her blog, and the response that people were giving her. The blog grew into her first book, which was a bestseller. And because she had a following on her blog, she already had readers ready to buy the book when it came out. So a lot of a lot of what the average person would spend for advertisement for their new book that they just came out with. Her advertisement was really basically the following that she had on her blog as she was posting articles on her blog. So that's something else that you can consider. So instead of jumping right into trying to write a book, get your feet wet. Do a couple of lines here and there on a Facebook status. Start a blog. Do a couple of paragraphs here and there on a blog. Get yourself into the rhythm of writing. And you have your own rhythm. You have your own personal rhythm. And you'll discover that as you begin to write. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. I had to write my notes. Okay. And so, what do you want to do? Okay. What is your book going to be about? So that's the first thing. Is it autobiographical? Is it about something that, you know, you have some expertise in? Most people that I have, you know, like, unless they have a love for writing mysteries or love stories or things like that, and especially like in the church, most people that I know of that feel the calling to write a book, the first book they write will probably be more autobiographical, unless they write poetry or something like that. So, of course, if you feel like you're called to write a book, you already have an idea of what that book's going to be about, whether it's going to be your life story, a portion of your testimony, your poetry collection, or sharing something, you know, that you have some expertise in. Okay. If you teach something, if you're a minister, you know, there may be an area that you've been called to minister to help people in, and you may feel the calling to write a book, based on maybe a ministry series that you've done. Bishop Jakes is notorious for doing that. You know, his latest book, Soar, he's also preaching it as a series in his church. And his previous book, Instinct, I mean, pretty much all of his books, Woman Thou Art Loose, Daddy Loves His Girls, he's done preaching series based on the book, or he wrote a book based on the preaching series, whichever way he did it, right? And so even if you're in ministry, you know, that's your guide to let you know what your book is about. So you want to decide what your book is about and what is your central thought, you know, and you want to decide, what do you want your readers to receive from your book? What do you want their takeaway to be? What do you want them to finish the book and decide about themselves? You know, what do you want them to receive from your book? So you have to decide that, because that's going to set the tone for how you tell your story. Any of us can tell our story from one angle or another angle, and it can have an entirely different effect. So what is your intention? What do you want people to receive from your book? Let that set your tone. Okay. And then once you decide that, then you can begin to organize your thoughts. You're going to build your outline. And what can help you build your outline? It can be, watching my time here. It can be pivotal moments. It can be major events that happened in your life. You know, you can start out with a little bit of background, you know, where you grew up, what shaped, you know, who you were as an adult, or just, you know, give some type of an introduction of yourself, and then what are the things that began to happen. You can decide if you want to start way back, you know, I grew up here, this or that or the other, or you might want to decide at the moment that something major happened, and then what happened at that point. So, what you have to do is decide what parts of your life you want to share. Based on these moments, these pivotal moments, these life-changing events. And then as you outline those, then guess what? Each outline represents a chapter in your book. And then the only other thing you have to do is, what will I call this chapter? And guess what? When you do that, you're simultaneously building your table of contents. So you know, as you do one, it all connects to something else. So as you make your outline, you're lining up your chapters, and you're building your own table of contents. Okay. Hold on.